Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
All right, folks. Good evening. You're watching New Right Network tonight. Your host, Brian Smith. And I am feverishly trying to get all this together all at the same time, folks. Hold on just one second. If you are on the YouTubes, you're watching yesterday's show. If you're on the Facebooks, you're watching today's show. And good evening. Let me grab one more. Oh, man. Okay. All right. I'm back. I'm with you. Good evening. You're watching New Right Network tonight. We are live Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Usually I have a co-host and I don't have to do all this show prep and all the stuff to where I got to do everything to get it going live. Normally I have my co-host and he will be back soon. But until then, I am here filling in for the two of us, doing double duty. So anyways, we here at New Right Network tonight. Again, we're on the social media platforms, the Facebooks, the YouTubes, Periscope, giving you the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, exposing the fake news, and giving you the real news. That's what we're doing here, folks. And if you like what you hear, crush the like, crush the follow. If you're on the YouTube, hit the subscribe and then hit the bell for notifications. If you have been blessed and you know that this type of media needs to get out there, feel free to jump over to smith.tv, crush the Patreon button, buy some stuff on the show or at the shop, the TVs or the new cool mugs. Thank you so much to our Patreons. One of our friends, Lotus and Vessi, both of them working on the shop. So thank you, ladies. Appreciate it very, very much. And with that being said, today's show, just as big as ever, tons of news coming out. Tonight, we're going to start off with great news, really, really good news. We're going to start off with Candace Owens. And I know the thumbnail for the show isn't Candace Owens. It's James Comey, and he's going to prison. I made the thumbnail and then realized that Candace Owens was trending today, so I had to kind of switch it up and throw in some new stuff. But I'm gonna hit Candace Owens information, all that stuff. I'm gonna hit that first. And Trump Team at Trump Team on Twitter, the official Trump 2020 re-election campaign, giving out great information. The social media outlet is giving out, if you are tuned in and plugged into the right people, you're able to get the real news, the real information that's out there and not the fake news. They were posting up today, Rachel Madcow, numbers still plummeting after the Mueller report comes out. CNN just absolutely hemorrhaging viewers. How they stay in business, I'll never know. So this is the real news right here, folks. We're going to get into that. We'll get into the Mueller report, some breaking news, some great information that's coming out. And again, as you can see by the thumbnail, there is an ongoing investigation currently into James Comey and all his dirty deeds. So I'm really excited about that. We'll talk about that. And then the Democrat terror. Democrats are absolutely terrorizing Americans. The Democrats are terrorizing Candace Owens and using communist Gestapo tactics against her. The leftist playbook, just absolutely attempting to malign and belittle every one of us. And yesterday, I showed you a clip of Barack Hussein Obama over the weekend. He was... this is amazing, folks. I'm over here on the Periscope. I'm watching the Periscope. I got my cousin at Smith Radio on notifications, and we've been following each other for since 2012. And yet I'm on the Periscope, and none of his this show live is not showing up. It's showing up everybody else's shows. Anyways, so help. It really helps to share the show, so much appreciated. But I showed you the report the video yesterday of Barack Obama bragging about how Europe is so incredibly great and some of the greatest place in the world to live, and the peace and the harmony and the money and the jobs, and just loving over the EU. And I get a video sent to me today. It's proof. There is a civil war going on in the European Union. I'll have some of that for you as well. We've got the at Red Pill Report, an absolute must follow, folks. He tweets out a lot of incredibly great, trustworthy news. And usually it's pretty much like as soon as it breaks, he posts it up. And we'll be talking about the terror that is in the Democrat Party with Rashida Tlaib. And then it breaks my heart, but the Air Force has done something that just almost unforgivable. And then if we've got time, we'll wrap this up with some of the DHS battle going on. Yes, the Department of Homeland Security, there is still a lot of fallout from Christian quitting on Sunday. A lot of fallout. A lot of Democrats are all up in arms about the new individual that Donald Trump has appointed. And construction of a 30-foot wall in Calexico, California. Folks, it's happening. Donald Trump is building the wall, Ann Coulter. So for any of you who want to tweet out the show and let Ann Coulter know, say, hey, Donald Trump's building that wall. We know it is, and it's 30 foot high. And then Judge Janine, she also has on Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, both part of Turning Points USA, a phenomenal outlet, just incredible young minds. If you want to think about the hope for the future of America, Turning Points USA is just absolutely pushing the needle in the right direction. And we'll have Charlie Kirk and how he's talking about Donald Trump and the border, and just some great news coming out. So we're going to start off with what I promised you. Candace Owens at the Nationalist hearing today just nails it. She wrote the speech. She wrote it out. So it's pre-written. It's scripted, but that's fine. She's young. She's in her early 20s, and she's years beyond anything that I was ever in my 20s. And a lot of people in their 20s will look at this and be dumbfounded by how articulate and how educated she is. Obviously growing up in an incredibly astute family. And the thing about this is that she doesn't fit the narrative to the Democrat Party. And this was her today, Candace Owens. Candace Owens, I retweeted this out from Breitbart News. Owens at white nationalism hearing. Biggest scandal is the Democrats keeping minorities perpetual victims. We jump over to Breitbart News. For those of you who don't know Breitbart News, you absolutely should get tuned into Breitbart News. It's a must go to on a daily basis. And let's see if we can pull this up and listen to Candace Owens just a bit. She's sitting there in the hearing. She's with her grandfather is right behind her. And it's just really, really great. It's heartwarming to see. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Okay,
Today,
there we go.
I received word on my way in that many of the journalists were confused as to why I was invited, and none of them knew that I myself was the victim of a hate crime when I was in high school. That's something that very few people know about me because the media and the journalists and the left are not interested in telling the truth about me because I don't fit the stereotype of what they like to see in black people. I'm a Democrat. I support the President of the United States, and I advocate for things that are actually affecting the black community. I'm honored to be here today in front of you all because the person sitting behind me is my 75-year-old grandfather. I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child, and I mean to say that my sense of humor, my passion, and my work ethic all comes from the man that is sitting behind me. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm in the segregated South. He grew up in an America where words like racism and white nationalism held real meaning under the Democrat Party's Jim Crow laws. My grandfather's first job was given to him at the age of 5 years old, and his job was to lay tobacco out to dry in an attic.
Whoa. Whoa, we can't have that. Oh, come on, man. I really didn't think this was going to happen. I watched through the whole video and did not have...
In the South.
Sorry, folks.
My grandfather has picked cotton, and he has also had experiences with a Democrat terrorist organization of that time, the Ku Klux Klan. They would regularly visit his home and they would shoot bullets into it. They had an issue with his father, my great-grandfather. During my formative years, I had the privilege of growing up in my grandfather's home. It's going to shock the committee, but not once, not in a single breath of a conversation did my grandfather tell me that I could not do something because of my skin color. Not once did my grandfather hold a gripe against the white man. I was simply never taught to view myself as a victim because of my heritage. I learned about faith in God, family, and hard work. Those were the only lessons of my childhood. There isn't a single adult today that in good conscience would make the argument that America is a more racist or a more white nationalist society than it was when my grandfather was growing up. And yet we're hearing these terms sent around today because what they want to say is that brown people need to be scared, which seems to be the narrative that we hear every 4 years right ahead of a presidential election. Here are some things we never hear. 75% of the black boys in California don't meet state reading standards. In inner cities like Baltimore, within 5 high schools and 1 middle school, not a single student was found to be proficient in math or reading in 2016. The single motherhood rate in the black community, which was at 23% in the 1960s when my grandfather was coming up, is at a staggering 74% today. I am guessing there will be no committee hearings about that. There are more black babies aborted than born alive in cities like New York, and you have Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo lighting up buildings to celebrate late-term abortions. I could go on and on. My point is that white nationalism did not do any of those things that I just brought up. Democrat policies did. Let me be clear. The hearing today is not about white nationalism or hate crimes. It's about fear-mongering, power, and control. It's a preview of a Democrat 2020 election strategy, same as the Democrat 2016 election strategy. They blame Facebook, they blame Google, they blame Twitter. Really, they blame the birth of social media, which has disrupted their monopoly on minds. They called this hearing because they believe that if it wasn't for social media, voices like mine would never exist, that my movement Blexit, which is inspiring black Americans to leave the Democrat Party, would have never come about. And they certainly believe that Donald Trump would not be in office today. Looking at the next thing to focus on now that the Russian collusion hoax has fallen apart. What they won't tell you about the statistics and the rise of white nationalism is that they've simply changed the data set points by widening the definition of hate crimes and upping the number of reporting agencies that are able to report on them. What I mean to say is that they're manipulating statistics. The goal here is to scare blacks, Hispanics, gays, and Muslims into helping them censor dissenting opinions, ultimately into helping them regain control of our country's narrative, which they feel that they lost. They feel that President Donald Trump should not have beat Hillary. If they actually were concerned about white nationalism, they would be holding hearings on Antifa, a far-left, violent, white gang who determined one day in Philadelphia in August that I, a black woman, was not fit to sit in a restaurant. They chased me out. They yelled race traitor to a group of black and Hispanic police officers who formed a line to protect me from their ongoing assaults. They threw water at me. They threw eggs at me. And the leftist media remained silent on it. If they were serious about the rise of hate crimes, they may perhaps be examining themselves and the hate that they have drummed up in this country. Bottom line is that white supremacy, racism, white nationalism, words that once held real meaning, have now become nothing more than election strategies. Every 4 years, the black community is offered handouts and fear. Handouts and fear. Reparations and white nationalism. This is the Democrat preview. Of course, society is not perfectible. We've heard testimony of that today. There are pockets of evil that exist, and those things are horrible, and they should be condemned. But I believe the legacy and the ancestry of black Americans is being insulted every single day. I will not pretend to be a victim in this country, and I know that that makes many people on the left uncomfortable. I want to talk about real issues in black America. I want to talk about real issues in this country and real concerns. The biggest scandal, this is my last sentence, in American politics is that Democrats have been conning minorities into the belief that we are perpetual victims, all but ensuring our failure. Racial division and class warfare are central to the Democrat Party platform. They need blacks to hate whites, the rich to hate the poor, and soon enough it'll be the tall hating the short.
And there you go, everybody. I'm just giving you the news. I'm just reporting it to you. And thank you, Breitbart News. I think I did plenty of advertising for you now. With that, think about what she's talking about, folks. We've been talking about this here on now New Right Network tonight, our show, Smith.tv. Before that, we were Smith Radio for years and years and years. And you can still catch us at Smith Radio on iHeartRadio. But look at what's happening. You're seeing the internet, the technology, you're seeing right at our fingertips where we're able to communicate with each other. I'm able to watch Candace Owens, whereas, 10, 15 years ago, that might have never have happened. I'm able to give you real-time news from around the world in our underground bunker studio because of technology. Technology has become the enemy of the left, has become the worst thing that the left has ever. And the irony of that, the irony of that is it's the left that actually created it. The Zuckerbergs, the Jack, all you guys did this to yourselves. And we're just taking advantage of a system, getting information out to the masses. Folks, this is the first election that I can ever remember that we never felt like we were alone. We didn't feel like we were alone in the thing. Even during Mitt Romney, it wasn't that social media was taking off, and it wasn't like it is now. We felt like we were all alone, and the GOP could care less about us. And we know now that that's absolutely true. But Candace Owens preaching truth to power, talking about the plight of Black Americans and the destruction of the Black family throughout the, she goes back all the way back as far as Lyndon Baines Johnson, LBJ absolutely destroying the Black family and then progressively getting worse and worse and worse to where, she's throwing out these statistics that we know are fact. We've been throwing them out too. More Black babies are aborted than born in the state of New York. That's a fact. This is information that needs to get out there, and she's doing an incredible job. I know out in California, I lived out there for a while, and in Southern California, the kids just in general, it wasn't black, white, but just kids in LA Unified School District that moved from the 6th grade to the 7th grade had a 50% dropout rate. 50% dropout rate. This is the Department of Education. And some of these schools, I'm telling you right now, South Central, Compton, Watts, some of the worst areas in Southern California. There's one school. They actually took out and bought an old manufacturing plant that owned acres and acres and acres, probably somewhere around 50, 60, 70 acres. They took that entire acreage, the city did, and built a $300 million facility for high school kids. It was an architectural, magnificent building. It was gorgeous, but $300 million. Just down the street on Firestone Boulevard, there was an elementary school built. Hundreds of millions of dollars. Architects being paid tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars to create and invent and this beautiful structure. All while teachers' pay raises go straight up. All while you can look at the graph. The level of education, the quality of education versus the money spent on architecture for these structures and the money spent on teachers' pay. Now, folks, I'm not bashing teachers for their pay. I am bashing them for their pay and not producing a product. That's the government in general. if they were held to the same standards as Walmart, Kmart, or Starbucks, they wouldn't be getting many customers. The thing would be over with. And so that's something that Candace Owens and Charlie Kirk with Turning Points USA has done. They visit these college campuses and attempt to re-educate, if you will, these children. Here on Smith.tv, New Right Network tonight, Carrie and I both agree 100% that the fire that is burning on these campuses, and Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens attempting to put out the fire, is being fueled with a giant 12-inch diameter hose of rocket fuel being sent from the Department of Education. This is what actually needs to be addressed, and we're working right now with a couple of great minds to address that. Stay tuned. It's a lot of hard work to get something up off the ground like this, and we're we're in talks with some great minds, some big influential people, and we'll be unrolling this pretty soon. We'll be talking more and more about it, but that is the number one thing that we need to do, is to attack the Department of Education, or if you will, miseducation. And while I was doing show prep today, this goes hand in hand with what I know I said I was going to bring you happy news, but I got to bring you this news. This goes hand in hand with what Candace Owens is talking about, and I just came across this. Gateway Pundit, absolutely awesome to stay and plugged in with Gateway Pundit. Sent a link to this video. This video posted on YouTube. I reposted it on Twitter. For audio only, folks, there is a guy in Chicago, looks to be an older white guy, being punched and kicked by two black Utes, probably in their 20s, and they're punching him in the head and kicking him around, and watch to see what happens. Somebody's filming this from inside a Burger King with a cell phone. So they took his hat off, they're punching him, they're beating him up, and then all of a sudden, yeah. The guy pulls out, the old white man pulls out a gun. He pulls out a gun and he points it at the black Utes, and they run away. But you can clearly hear in the restaurant the people screaming and clearly upset. This is what you have to do in Chicago to defend yourself. In Chicago, and I don't know if you guys heard about this. You hear about the mass shooting last weekend in Chicago? Nope. I forgot to bring it up on the show yesterday. Yeah, there was in Chicago. And this was a black on white crime. And in Chicago, most of the crime is black on black crime. And when FBI classifies mass shooting as more than two people being shot, shots fired, and continually shooting, there's a hospital in Chicago where the report was that there was a domestic dispute or some issue with this man. He showed up in the hospital parking lot, pulled out his gun, and killed the first woman he saw, which was a young black woman. She has since passed on. May God comfort her family. It's very difficult to have this happen. This should never happen. Now we've got, he goes inside the hospital. He starts shooting up people. He walked into one of the rooms and killed a doctor, a female black doctor. We're black on black crime still. And the cops that showed up, all the cops showing up, a whole bunch of cops, he's firing away inside the hospital. He fires again, wounds another cop. That cop attempting, and they're shooting down the hallway at each other like some kind of OK Corral. And the cop succumbed to the wounds, but yet he left a fatal shot into the gunman, which stopped it. You didn't hear about that. No, not enough. Not enough blood and guts and gore on that one. This is what we get in Chicago all the time. And if you want to check Chicago stats, murder rates, homicides, if if you want to check Chicago stats, it's been a while since I've done this, so I'm going to do this again, folks, real quick. Check out heyjackass.com. Heyjackass.com. I've been keeping tabs on this website for probably about a decade now, and as you can see, April to date, shot and killed 17 April to date. We're just into April. Shot and wounded 55, total shots 72, total homicides 17, and then year to date, we're not even halfway through the year. Just past first day of spring, so we're in the first quarter of the year, if you will. Shot and killed 91, shot and wounded 411, shot total 502 in the city of Chicago, total homicides 101. A person is shot every 4 hours and 41 minutes. A person is murdered in Chicago every 23 hours and 17 minutes. And I know that the website does poke a little bit of fun at some of this stuff and makes light of it. Headshots, arm shots, body shots, lower body shots. And then they also show the areas in Chicago. There's a map that shows the areas in Chicago where the homicides are taking place. This is a Democrat-run society. This is what happens in Chicago, in a Democrat-run city. We saw what they did to Detroit. We see what they're doing in Los Angeles. We see what they're doing in New York, and they will not report on what's going on in Chicago. So just that being thrown out there. Here's juxtaposed. Here is what conservative Christian Republicans believe in, and I'm just throwing this out there. For those of you that are Christians, I've got to take people's word for it. If you tell me you're a Christian, I just take your word for it. And then I watch your actions and see if your actions meet your words. And I'm not here to judge anyways. You do your own thing. I do my own thing. It's a personal quest to find your relationship with Christ. Donald Trump claimed to be Christian. I make no bones about that. He's been divorced multiple times. I know Christians that have been divorced. Married and divorced multiple times. I know Christians that have cheated. It's just human nature. So for those of you who don't believe Trump's a Christian, don't you judge. He said he was. I got to take his word for it. And then let's look at his actions. And as we can see right here, Donald Trump tweeting out 53% approval rating. Thank you very much. Working hard. And I post that up because of the big numbers that came out from last month. This Thomas Paine, CVPAINE, he follows us on Smith Radio, and myself at Brian P. Smith on the Twitter sphere. And this is at CV Payne, and you know Charles Payne from Fox Business News. He tweets out a response to Martha McCallum, wages are higher. And then he replies to that with, John Harwood knows better. Creating 190,000 jobs at this stage of the economic cycle is mind-boggling. Something else. The experts said it was impossible. Moreover, wages are soaring after being mediocre for a decade. More important, this hashtag shared prosperity caused by lower taxes. People are feeling the new taxes. If you haven't filed your taxes yet, you got some problems, but you probably ought to get onto that. But if you have filed your taxes already, you may know, and I've shared the story with everybody. I have never, now granted, I took a pay cut in a job in order to get a good job back during the Obama administration. I then received a $2 raise in less than 6 months. Donald Trump's tax cuts kicked in. The company was able to hire more. The company was able to buy more equipment. This goes all the way back to 2017. And so 2018, get the $2 extra raise, which was huge, and filed my taxes. And I was shocked. I was shocked. I got 3 little kids at the house, and normally it's $2,000 credit per kid. It's now $4,000 credit per kid. I'm just telling you, if you don't have anything good to say about these tax cuts, I don't know. Maybe go ask somebody else about it, because people are really feeling it. People with their money in their 401ks are feeling it. They're seeing it. They're seeing the growth of their retirement plan. For those of you who are smart, when the market dipped in 08, 9, 10, 11, and the perpetual state of affairs just never got better, because that's what Democrats do. They get involved, they intervene, and it never gets better. The Great Depression continued, and we see scholars now looking back at the Great Depression saying that it would have ended much, much earlier had it not been Democrat policies put in play. For goodness sakes, FDR died in office. I mean, after being reelected, he would have been in there 16 years. That's insanity. And now we see the second Great Depression and how Barack Obama perpetuated that with their policies. Donald Trump jumps into office. 2 years, promises made, promises kept. And this economy is rip-roaring. Donald Trump going to nominate Herman Cain to the Fed, which I could do a whole show on the Fed Reserve. It's a monstrosity. It's the Leviathan in itself. But I digress. At least he's getting Herman Cain up on board there, which is truly exciting to see a capitalist with a very successful track record get involved in something of this nature. And the Fed say that they're not going to raise. They might raise rates one more time in 2019, but they're not going to raise rates in 2020, which is exciting. This economy will continue to take off. 2020 will show that the Democrats and their ideologies are complete and utter nonsense. And let's get into the Mueller Report. The news that's coming out today on the Mueller Report at the Washington-Times. Attorney General Barr to release redacted Mueller Report within a week. He said that he was going to release it sometime mid-April, and he being questioned today, confirmed that, yes, it will be released redacted within a week. The Congressional Panel, Mr. Mueller did not play a role. And this is Attorney General Barr replying to the Congressional Panel. He said, Mr. Mueller did not play a role in drafting the document, the 4-page document that he gave, the summary that said no collusion, it's all delusion. So he asked Mueller if you wanted to be a part of the role drafting the 4-page summary. Mueller declined. Attorney General said, we offered him the opportunity to review it, even review it after it was written, but he declined on that too. That's really got to be telling, folks. I think that Mueller is covering his butt so that when he goes back to the powers that be, he can say, I didn't have nothing to do with the writing of the 4-page summary. I didn't have anything to do with approving, disapproving of it. I didn't even read it, pre-read it, and give an opinion on it. My report was 400 pages, and that's what I did. He knows that it's all going to be redacted, or the majority of it is going to be redacted, and he's going to rely on lies and shenanigans when it comes to that. Mr. Barr, the summary was easy to write in 48 hours because the thinking of the special counsel was not a mystery to the Department of Justice prior to the submission of Mueller's report. He and his people had been interacting with the Deputy Attorney General, Dirty Rod Rosenstein, since early March. Think about that. Mueller, Rosenstein, and Barr all involved in the report since early March, an entire month. So Barr had no problem putting together a 4-page summary in 48 hours. And this will go to... Sunny Striker put this tweet up. Oh, dagnabbit. I don't have the tweet of Sonny Stryker. SUNNIRINKER, Sonny Rinker. Why would Maria Yovanovitch, ambassador to the Ukraine, stop these people from coming to the U.S. to speak? Ukrainian officials. DOJ hasn't acted on our evidence of Dems' wrongdoings. This by John Solomon at The Hill. Folks, this is unbelievable. This is what we've been reporting on for a couple of years now. And John Solomon, phenomenal at thehill.com, just reporting and digging in. He was the one that uncovered the Ukrainian connection and the Democrats connecting, meeting with and dealing with high up Ukrainian officials. And these Ukrainian officials had ties to Putin. Yes, it's all so bad. So check this out real quick. This is awesome. Again, Ukrainian official who is working diligently, and in 2015, 2016 was thwarting their high up law enforcement from coordinating with Russia in a corrupt attempt to overtake the government of the Ukraine. Similar situation that was happening in America. Think about this. Put this 2 and 2 together. Russia working to not overthrow in the sense that it's going to become Russia again, but to actually corrupt the government so much that Russia controls the Ukraine via proxy, via fake officials and planted officials, just like it would have been Hillary Clinton, planted in America, and Russia would have had control over America if she had won. Guys, this is so close that we've got to stay plugged in on this. And here we go. I'll make this full screen and check this out.
I always want to know, how is our representatives in your country doing? So I want to ask you a question. How do you gauge the relationship between Ukraine and specifically our U.S. ambassador, Ms. Yovanovitch?
Ambassador from any country represents this country in our country. From this point of view, I give my respect to the ambassador. From another hand, it is true that I had some difficult personal relationship with Ms. Ambassador. Unfortunately, from the first meeting with the U.S. ambassador in Kiev, Ms. Ambassador gave me a list of people whom we should not prosecute. And my response was that it is inadmissible. Nobody in this country, neither our president, nor our parliament, nor ambassador, could stop me from prosecuting whether there is a crime.
You're saying that our ambassador, Ms. Yovanovitch, came to you and told you people she did not want you to pursue, even if there was evidence of criminality. Is that correct?
Yes. At that time, we had a case for the embezzlement of the U.S. government technical assistance worth $4 million US, and in that regard, we had this dialogue.
Ми мали цей діалог. На жаль, пані посол вважала, що допити
At that time, Ms. Ambassador thought that our interviews of Ukrainian citizens, of Ukrainian civil servants who were frequent visitors in the U.S. Embassy put a shadow on the anti-corruption policy.
Антикорупційної політики в Україні.
So this was going on, folks. This was going on in the Ukraine while the election was happening. This was what they were saying. $20 million was misappropriated in funds. Where did that $20 million go, Hillary Clinton? Where did in order to get them reelected, because it's really expensive to lie and cheat people out and make them vote for you on a false premise. It cost a lot to do that. Where did that $20 million go? Yeah, I'm sure you know Hillary Clinton. So with that, doing some heavy lifting, John Solomon, phenomenal. There's another point that I made. There's a connection with Joe Biden and John Kerry. Their sons actually are connected in a corporation that was doing dirty dealings with the Ukraine and with China. And whenever a policy was made or passed or developed either by Joe Biden or John Kerry, it was ironic that their sons and their corporations were the beneficiary of tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars coming out of those governments for favorable policies coming out of America. And at MAM 65, MAM 66, this was today. Republican at Representative Tom Graves says to Barr, hashtag, no collusion, no obstruction, it's done. The demo rat mobs break up with the hashtag Mueller investigation is sad. Here's the Barr hearing, and here's just a minute clip of this hearing.
We've heard a lot about the Mueller Report today. 22 months of investigation, 2,800 subpoenas, $25 million from taxpayers, 500 witness interviews, 19 lawyers, 40 FBI agents, and who knows how many warrants. And the conclusions were simple. No collusion, no obstruction. I remember when the first letter was released, and there were a lot of complaints then, Attorney General, that you weren't releasing the summary soon enough. And then here today, I hear it was too hasty, too quick. So now you've had time to review. Your team's had time to review. You've indicated maybe within the next week we'll get the report released. So for the committee, is there anything new you've seen since the review of the entirety of the report that would change your conclusions?
No, Congressman. As I explained, my March 24th letter was meant to state the bottom line conclusions of the report, not summarize the report. And I tried to use as much of the special counsel's own language as I could. But they were just stating the bottom line conclusions, and there's nothing to suggest to me that those, that those weren't.
No collusion, no obstruction. It's over. It's done. It's over.
Well, the letter speaks for itself.
I thought it did too.
This is what they've got. They are an absolute embarrassment, the Democrat Party. You've got these knuckleheads, Swalwell, still hanging on to his Russian collusion story. And then you've got the mainstream media who has lied to their base, lied to people tuning in for the last 2 years. All the compilation videos are out there. This is the end. This is the end for Donald Trump. This is the smoking gun. This is it. And 2.5 years later, there is nothing. You've got to feel pretty much like a sucker if you were one of those people that were listening in to CNN and sticking in with that. And it's unfortunate if you were a part of that. Yikes. Yeah, that definitely stinks. And this at CWSONtheweb.com, Bill Barr confirms James Comey is under investigation for what he did to Trump. Guys, first one to fall on the sword. Comey has lied under oath. Comey has broken the law many, many times, writing down notes, leaking those notes to the professor, and the professor then leaking those notes to the news outlets. James Comey is in so much trouble. It is beyond belief. He's, in my opinion, my personal opinion, he's going to be the first one to go to prison. Make no bones about it. He's being investigated because he was the ringleader that helped perpetuate this lie that Hillary Clinton was innocent. He broke protocol. He can be in trouble for that when he got fired for that. But he broke protocol by letting her go free. Loretta Lynch met on the tarmac with Bill Clinton. Shortly after that, Comey then released Hillary Clinton without interviewing her, without hearing any kind of information. Not only that, but the ladies that showed up in the interview with Hillary Clinton, her legal team, which was highly irregular. First off, Hillary Clinton was not under oath, and she was not being recorded, and there were no notes taken. and the ladies that she brought with her to be questioned had previously been questioned by the FBI and were asked for the laptops, which they never got. James Comey's like, yeah, we tried to work a deal and it just didn't work, We just tried to. So we gave them total immunity if they promised to finally, after a month, give us their laptops. So after it'd been bleach bit and hammered, hand over laptops, and you've got total immunity. James Comey, first one going to jail, my personal opinion. With everything that's going on, Bill Barr is just hammering down on all this collusion, delusion. Donald Trump, Barr is getting to the bottom of all this. Barr is probably one of the greatest picks that Donald Trump has made. Again, I'll just remind everybody, we were nervous in the beginning, but he has turned out to be awesome. And this tweeted out by @megavolts001, #coup, #Huber, #Sessions. What happened to U.S. Attorney John Huber out of Utah? Remember how he was, and this was a Bill Stills video. You can see all the links in the description below so you can listen to all these clips. And just a heads up and a reminder, if you haven't looked in the show notes below, I try and annotate everything, put all the details with all the links and all the websites in the description, so check that out. Bill Stills gives let me check this. Bill Stills gives a great question, like he really poses the question as to what happened to Huber. He was supposed to be investigating all the deep state. He was supposed to be investigating the dirty deeds of some of these individuals. And he was actually supposed to be doing the job, appointed by Jeff Sessions, doing the job that Attorney General Barr is doing. What happened to old boy out of Utah? What happened to Huber? I've not heard or seen anything whatsoever. Nobody has any evidence or information that he has interviewed anybody. He has subpoenaed anybody. He has even had a phone call with anybody. Bill Stills then also talks with Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch, and Tom Fitton agrees this was a big head fake. 100%. We talked about this early on, that they had the goods on Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions was compromised, 100%, total compromised, throwing out John Huber, knowing that nothing was going to happen. This is a regular Clinton leftist deep state tactic: stall, stall, stall. The government is the greatest at stalling. The joke in the Air Force, or the military in general, but the joke that we had in the Air Force was, hurry up and wait. They want you here right now. They're calling for you. You need to get there right now. You got to be there. Hurry up. You get there, and you might wait 12, 15, 16. You might wait a whole day, and they tell you to go back, and we'll call you again. That was the military. That's the government. Hurry up and wait. And so, again, Bill Still on YouTube primarily, and Megavolt001 retweets Bill Still's videos often. That's why I like to stay in touch with these people and watch their threads. And then we get to what I talked about yesterday a little bit, the Democrat terror. The Democrat Party of terror is in full effect. They are infiltrating Congress. And I put this one up on the big screen there. This by a Red Pill Report. Must follow. Great information coming out off this channel with him putting out good information. Is Rashida Tlaib a terrorist supporter? I've got the link in the description below, but listen to the first minute or two of this, and then I'll...
Yeah, we're asking, is Rashida Tlaib a terrorist supporter? Well, there's plenty of folk on Twitter who think she is. But random blokes on Twitter don't really count as proof, and as she's careful with what she says...
We're gonna go in there, we're gonna impeach the mother...
At least most of the time. We decided to investigate the people behind her election success. Now, We haven't got time to show you everything they've said, so let's begin with this Facebook status. Here, Rashida thanks 5 of her friends who helped her get her elected. We found 4 of them on social media, and every single one of them had made posts that will shock the American public. Let's begin in order. First up is Ahlam Jabara. Ahlam is a close friend and political ally of Rashida. Here she is posing with her other friend, Razmir Odeh. Now you may be wondering, who's Razmir? Razmir is a terrorist. She was jailed for 10 years for murdering 2 Israelis in a supermarket bombing. Ahlam has such admiration for Razmir that she baked her a cake. Cute. But Razmir isn't the only terrorist that she appears to support. She also shared this image of Muhammad Ali, a terrorist that stabbed 3 Israeli soldiers in Jerusalem.
You see the stabbings right there. Decide not to show the rest of the clip. It's
the next person Rashida thanked in that status was Muwafaq Jabara. Now, I'm not quite sure what relation Muwafaq is to Ahlam, but they're definitely close. Anyway, he's a Palestinian living in America. Now, he's posted some of the most extreme content we've seen. To really understand who we're dealing with, Muwafaq mentions in at least 2 posts that he was in Megiddo prison. Now, Megiddo houses Palestinians that pose serious security threats to Israel. At this stage, we can't speculate why he was in jail, but we can say he was in contact with high-level prisoners like Abdelaziz al-Rantizi, the co-founder of Hamas. We know this because Muwafaq posted, "To the heaven of martyrs, the Lion of Palestine. Your words are still resonating in my ears, and I still remember our meeting in the prison of Megiddo in 1997. As for Muwafaq's social media posts, I can't overemphasize how extreme they are.
And the reason why we are putting this information out is because the Democrat Party has been infiltrated, and Rashida Tlaib was one of 7. This by the Justice Democrats. Justice Democrats ran 79 radical actors and actresses in the primarying of Democrats. Out of the 79 that they ran with money from Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks and influence from other individuals that are tied to George Soros and the money that they, out of the 79 that they ran, 24 primaried a Democrat. Out of the 24 that primaried a Democrat, 7 of them won office and are now in Congress. AOC is one, Rashida Tlaib is the second one, and Ilhan Omar is the third one. There was a law on the books. Islamic Muslims cannot hold office. That being thrown out by the deep staters, the globalists, the Joe Bidens, Mitch McConnell's, John McCain's, and the likes, Chuck Schumer's, Nancy Pelosi. I'm serious, folks. This is an infiltration of our government. Islam cannot coexist with any other religion, cannot coexist with any other societal norms. You cannot take Islam and put it side by side with Hispanic culture in Mexico. It wouldn't happen because Islam would dominate it eventually. In the last 1,500 years, in the last, since the invasion of Islam in these countries in the Middle East, Egypt used to be Christian. Turkey used to be Christian. No longer, no more, and we're at the point in time right now where Turkey is literally implementing Sharia law. This is what happens if you do not stop Islam, and this is very upsetting. I ran across this article today, just breaks my heart, at the Air Force Times. Air Force JAG officer to wear hijab, featured in short NBC documentary. I'm thoroughly upset with this. This really, really breaks my heart. We now have, and here's the picture, we now have a female serving as an officer in our military. This is the irony of it. Serving in our military as a Muslim, now wearing the hijab, allowed to wear the hijab. And what does this symbolize? This represents and symbolizes her dedication to Islam and the Quran. Dedication to Islam and the Quran. This cannot coexist with our societal norms. This is complete opposite of the Declaration of Independence and our way of life. Completely opposite, which is truly heartbreaking. I know I'm up on at the end of the set here. At Beastie Newall, we have this is what I was referencing in as to yesterday with Barack Hussein Obama being in Germany over the weekend, and this posted at Beastie Newall. So we have a civil war in the country adjacent to us, and our media is still hardly mentioning it. An EU member is gassing and brustling its citizens, and it would appear that it has the tactic approval of the EU, the legacy media, and I guess our leaders. So for those of you audio only, there's a bomb explosion and cops are running to beat people. Cops running down the street in a giant pack of probably about 40, looking for citizens, looking for anybody, starting to beat people on the street, whether you have a yellow jacket, yellow vest on or not. Women and children being beat on the streets, just going to town. This is the riot. There's probably at least 40, maybe 50. It might be more. It might be more. Yep, all in riot gear. Smoke bombs being thrown. Bombs exploding in neighborhoods and streets. Smoke in the air. This juxtapose, just a little friendly reminder of what happened over the weekend with Barack Hussein Obama. So what did Barack have to say about this stuff? Barack?
There's a whole lot of work to be done because we live in uncertain times. We're confronted by big questions about how to organize our communities and our countries in the international order. Here in Berlin, we have to recognize that this moment is full of contradictions because Europe in 2019, in some ways, has achieved the pinnacle of human well-being.
Okay, I'll leave it at that because I don't want to hurt y'all. You know what it is? He's back at it again, folks. Barack Obama is back at it again, lying about everything going on. And just to wrap it up, I know I'm up against the end of it. DHS battle. WashingtonTimes reports Trump, Democrats on collision course over new Homeland Security chief. Dianne Feinstein, unfortunately, in an effort to fulfill his campaign promises, President Trump is trying to remake DHS into his own personal anti-immigration agenda. No, sorry, Di-Fi. Donald Trump is not remaking it into an anti-immigration. It's an anti-illegal immigration. That's all right. I got you there. And on Mr. McAllen, Mr. Corn says he's done a tremendous job leading the border agency, but wasn't sure he'd have any luck at the top of the department. Quote, this from Mr. Corn, I'm not sure he's going to have any more success than Secretary Nielsen in solving the underlying problems. The senator said this from the Washington Post. That problem is a set of U.S. laws that serve as enticement for illegal immigrants to make the trip north to Central America, convinced they can game the system to gain a foothold in America. For the most part, they have been correct or successful. Donald Trump has been talking about this and railing against this. And this Judge Janine and Charlie Kirk
Trump's approval rating among Hispanic voters, 50% approve, 46% disapprove, an NPR PBS NewsHour Marist poll. That's kind of amazing given the attacks that he's gotten from the left, especially as it relates to Hispanics and immigration and all that. How do you explain it?
Spot on, Judge. And you look at this is an NPR poll. Let's just reiterate that. That's not exactly a conservative, polling. But you look at this, the tougher the president has gotten on the border, the more his Hispanic support has surged. It's really actually contrary to what the media elites and the wise men of Washington have been telling us over the last 20, 30 years. The quote-unquote conventional wisdom was that you need to be for open borders or relaxed immigration policy to try to win the Hispanic community. This polling shows that ever since the president has declared a national emergency and talked about immigration daily and illegal immigration and the surge of illegals coming into our country, more Hispanics support him. And why is that? That's because illegal immigration directly impacts legal immigrant communities the most, specifically legal Hispanic communities. So this is a great sign for the president going into 2020.
This is a very good sign. Folks, those that are legal immigrants are enraged at how illegal immigrants can get more, can do more, can have whatever they want, whereas they did everything right and paid their dues, made the time, and this is just another another example of Democrats and Democrat policies not working out very well. And this at Fox Business AM with at Jessie Jane Duff, former gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. She's awesome, awesome, awesome. We've had her on the show a couple of times. Check this out on Fox Business in the morning.
Is at the border. What's the fallout from Kirstjen Nielsen's resignation as DHS Secretary? Let's bring in Jessie Jane Duff of the London Center for Policy Research. Jessie, it's great to have you on this.
Good morning.
What is the fallout here? This is a crucial, critical time for both the president and for the border crisis, as we're seeing more and more migrants and especially families flooding through. Is this a good or a bad thing, do you think, that Nielsen has decided to walk away right now?
Well, it's actually a very good thing, because this is one issue that President Trump ran on and won on. And we haven't seen a great amount of progress on this illegal immigration concerns that are facing the country right now. Kirstjen was not as strong of a player that I think the nation wanted her to be. And a lot of the allies she had are no longer there. She was a protege, essentially, of Kelly, who has since resigned, and Mattis. They were big fans of hers. But the president has since moved forward, and I think he's realizing that this problem hasn't gotten better. It's only gotten worse, and that is a big slap in the face for the administration. So I think the Trump supporters are celebrating this widely, and I'm sure the Democrats are going to be celebrating it until we get a new one in, who's probably going to be just as tough, going to be hopefully tougher than Kirstjen Nielsen was.
Kevin McAleenan, he right now is Customs and Border Protection.
My sentiments exactly. Talked about this yesterday. She could not get the job done. Jessie Jane Duff, thank you very, very much. We are both on the same page. She didn't have the support of Mattis. She didn't have the support of Kelly. Both of them gone. And she didn't have the support of anybody in Congress. And this, just a beautiful, beautiful thing. As you saw earlier that Donald Trump was down there on the border. This is a beautiful thing tweeted out by at the White House. The newly constructed 30-foot wall in Calexico, California, replaces a barrier made of surplus corrugated steel landing mats from the Vietnam War. And border officials tell President at Real Donald Trump it's making a crucial difference. And then you can see the link there. And again, if you want any of the links to anything that I post here on the show, just jump down in the show notes and you can check that out. There is a little bit of bad news. We still got the Ninth Circuit Court. We still got the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Judge blocks Trump wait in Mexico asylum policy, thinking that it may violate something. Donald Trump is putting judges in place to stop this kind of nonsense from happening. and it cannot happen fast enough. We've got Congress stalling on these judges, but moving at breakneck speed. Thank you, Donald Trump, for everything that you're doing, for all the hard work and the heavy lifting. Folks, we've got to be here for Donald Trump. This is the new media outlet, if you will. This is the new news media. This is New Right Network tonight, doing everything we can to help Donald Trump make America great again. And with that being said, crush the share, crush the follow, and invite everybody to watch the show. Everybody have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.